Hello, Facebook. Hello, Instagram. Hello, YouTube. What's happening, everybody? Marcus here from Aroma Time. And just got asked yesterday during our Christmas Soup Day kitchen. One of the volunteers said, what's the difference, Marcus, between champagne and Prosecco? I know you've said it before on a Facebook video or a video somewhere, and I quite can't remember. And the price sometimes is like $50 or $100 difference. What's the exact difference in that? I said, fantastic question. I say, stay tuned for tomorrow. I'll have that answer on Facebook for you. So here we go. A little rundown of Prosecco versus champagne. Both are very good products, by the way, Prosecco and champagne. And also Cava fits into this mix as well. Cava is another sparkling. So the category of wine that I'll be talking about is obviously sparkling wine right now. Sparkling wine encompasses Cava, Prosecco, champagne, and several other styles of sparkling wine from around the world, from Alsace or forced carbonated wines, forced carbonation wines. I'll talk about those as well. So the rundown is champagne is more expensive. It absolutely is more expensive. Land in Champagne is expensive. It's $1 million an acre. It is one of the most prestigious wine regions in the world. They have very strict standards, everything from pruning to yield to how it's fermented in the bottle, to how it's handled in the bottle, to how it's aged. The standards are so strict that, of course, the costs keep adding up on champagne because of that. And that's why champagne can literally run easily $100 a bottle and more very easily. So in Prosecco, you can walk into a retail store and buy a bottle of Prosecco for $10.99, $14.99. A really good bottle of Prosecco, maybe $30. And champagne, of course, is going to be well double upon the double of that easily. So let's talk about the difference in Prosecco, champagne, Cava, and forced carbonated wine. So the cheapest of all the sparkling wines is going to be forced carbonation, where they actually take CO2 gas and they actually pump it into, just like how soda is carbonated. The same as soda, wine can be done as well, and that is extremely inexpensive wine, sparkling wine, nowhere near champagne. Of course, champagne, the word champagne is trademarked. Method champenoise or champagne is a trademarked word from Champagne, France. Champagne can only come from Champagne, France. So you can't legally make champagne in Virginia, New York, New Mexico, California, Italy. Champagne is a region in itself that has very strict standards. So the cheapest of all sparkling wines, folks, is forced carbonation. It's made like soda. You take wine and you pump it with gas, stick it into a bottle, and this, my friends, is a lot of what mimosas are made out of. Very cheap, quote unquote champagne toasts. A lot of restaurants, banquet halls will tend to buy the stuff that literally cost $5, $6, $7 a bottle, $5 a bottle. Very, very inexpensive. So that is one of the most common ones out there used, because most people don't know what the real term champagne is, or the difference of Cava, Prosecco, or forced carbonation. So champagne and Prosecco. Champagne is made from 3 grapes: Pinot Meunier, Chardonnay, and Pinot Noir, the 3 grapes. Prosecco is traditionally made out of Glera. Glera is a traditional grape used in Prosecco. Now, if you wanted to make a rosé Prosecco, you'd add a little bit of Pinot Noir or Merlot in there and make a rosé Prosecco. Rosé champagne is made from Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier. The skin contact is left in when it's pressed, and then it's made into its bubbles. So here's the main difference, folks, of why this stuff is literally $50 price difference. To get the bubbles, to get the carbonation, Prosecco happens in a huge vat. A big vat is where you make Prosecco, and what's called the secondary fermentation, where they add, after the wine is made, then they add more sugar and yeast. From that sugar and yeast, you have this magic starts happening, which these bubbles come in and go in and live off of this. And that's what makes the Prosecco sparkling. Well, that happens in these huge vats. It's also called tanker style. It's called Cremant. There's several different terminologies that can be used for that, but it's basically done in vats. It's also called clav fermented. If you look it up, there's literally like 5 or 6 or 7 different terminologies for how Prosecco is made in these big vats and fermented. Champagne. The magic of the secondary fermentation where the bubbles takes place happens in the bottle, not in a big vat. So when you hear of the term riddling champagne, champagne sits on its neck, and you'll see literally in Reims and Epernay in Champagne, you will see, you go into these caves underneath these cities, and there's millions and millions of bottles. And what happens is, on a regular basis, I'm not sure if it's daily or every week or so, but you have riddlers, and they go through, and basically they go through and they spin all of the champagne by hand, and they literally go through hundreds of thousands of bottles and do this, and that's their job. It's called riddling. And the champagne sits in like this, and they come and twist, quarter of a turn each time, and all of the lees, the yeast, the sediment builds up into the neck of the champagne. And then what happens is, before they send it out to the market, they have to freeze this neck and pop out all of the sediment, the dead yeast, because you wouldn't want that in your glass when you drink champagne. And then they sometimes will top it off, which is called dosage, or they won't top it off because not much is lost in that at all. And they reseal it and they send it out to market. So all the magic happens in the bottle. So besides, and in champagne, folks, you literally need to have a degree in pruning to prune the vines. I mean, it's a very intense and very regulated production of sparkling wine champagne. To give you a little bit of some statistics of Champagne, France, there's 86,000 acres planted of grapevines. That is roughly the size of Queens, New York, 86,000 acres. Of that 86,000 acres, there's about 5,500 different brands of champagne. All right. Now, most of us only know 2, 3, 4, 5 different brands of champagne because the big guys are the ones who are buying a bunch of grapes from wherever they can, whether it's their contracted grapes or they're buying, grapes from their regulars or from whoever. They're buying 86,000 acres of grapes, and what is the number on actual farms? It's something ridiculous. Like each farm, each vineyard is only like 2 acres. There's literally tens of thousands of producers there, but only 5,500, 5,400 brands, which means you have consolidation happening, which means the grapes then switch hands and go from the grower then to the producer. So it switches hands. So the big guys like Piper Heidsieck, Krug, Dom Perignon, which is Moet, they're buying their grapes from several different producers and then making. Some of them don't even grow grapes at all. They're just champagne makers. They're not grape growers. So 5,500 brands roughly, and people can't even name 5 brands out of champagne. So champagne is, again, very, very, very regulated and regarded, very expensive, and it is a very serious place to make sparkling wine. It is one of the most serious wine regions in the world. So this is why, with all the regulations and what they have going on, that's why it's so expensive, or the price is elevated above other things. Now, cava, interesting about cava, comes from Spain. Cava is also made, it's fermented in the bottle. The secondary fermentation happens in the bottle. But in cava, they don't have strict regulations on growing. They don't have they don't have high land prices, and they don't do the riddling by hand. They actually stick most of it. There probably is some riddling by hand, but most of it, the bigger guys, the guys who are selling cava for $6, $7, $8 a bottle retail, all these are stuck into racks. And the racks actually vibrate and slowly turn the bottles of cava as it vibrates. So you can literally shake several thousand bottles of cava at a time and get it to be riddled or turned. And so it was in France by hand in Champagne. So that's a quick rundown of Champagne versus Prosecco. There's a vast, vast price difference of the two. And that is why a lot of things go into that make up that vast price difference. Vintage champagne. Most champagne is labeled NV, which means non-vintage. This is a non-vintage runner here. Non-vintage means this is a blend of their cuvées, or a blend of their multiple years that go into the bottle. So this one here could be blended from 3 separate years, 4 separate years, 2 separate years. When it says a vintage on it, it'll say 1996, 2004, it'll say something. Now, not every year is a vintage. They don't declare a vintage every year. Only in the better years they will put a single vintage on and still make their regular non-vintage. So if it says vintage on here, the price is going to go up. The price goes up significantly. Sometimes the price can double from a non-vintage to a vintage. So that's why you'll see certain champagnes that say, wow, that seems so expensive. Why do they have a cheaper one? Non-vintage versus vintage. So better grapes, higher quality season, better quality product. It'll last longer, it'll age longer. So that's the difference with that. We do have some vintages on our list as well as non-vintage champagne. All right, folks, that's a little rundown on champagne for your New Year's Eve. Hopefully, we are open New Year's Eve at the restaurant here. We have 3 seatings, 5 o'clock, 7:30, and 9 o'clock. 7 o'clock, I'm sorry, 5, 7, and 9. 5, 7, and 9. We don't have a set menu. It's a full menu all night long. You order as little or as much as you want. You're not stuck into a 4-course, 5-course tasting menu. You can order wine. You can not order wine. You can order beer. You don't have to drink. You can drink wine and beer. You can eat a steak or you can eat sandwich, whatever you want. We have a full menu available. You're not locked into any kind of specific courses. So from there, at 9 o'clock or 9 o'clock seating, we have music, dancing, dessert buffet, and a Prosecco toast at midnight. And that will be from 9 o'clock on. The table's yours the rest of the night. It's a $15 cover charge, what covers your Prosecco, dessert, and music for dancing. And we are here. We watch the ball drop, and some people stayed later until 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and still dance away. It is a fun night here at Aroma Thyme. It is also our anniversary. That was our very first night open, 2003, New Year's Eve, 2004. So that's when we opened. December 31st, 2003 was official opening night. And we are roaring into a new decade, into the 20s. 2020 is approaching us. Very fun time to see a new decade come into play. Very exciting things. A lot of people look to new decades for a lot of growth and encouragement and just great fortune. So the 20s are approaching, just days away. And come roar into the 20s with us here at Aroma Thyme Bistro, 647-3000 to make reservations after 9 o'clock. We recommend reservations whether it's 5, 7, or 9, but especially after 9 o'clock. You need reservations. We will sell out on that. And again, the table is yours all night from 9 o'clock until 1 a.m., 2 a.m., however long you want to stay. The table is yours. So that's our New Year's Eve here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate it. And if we don't see you, have a very happy New Year. Update on our soup kitchen. We fed, 550 people, 600 people, Jamie. I'm not sure exactly, Jamie Sugar. We fed a lot of people again yesterday for our soup kitchen. Thank you, everybody who volunteered and donated. Our GoFundMe page is still live if you want to still donate. That is on our Facebook page, Aroma Thyme Bistro. I'm sorry, it's on our website, aromatymebistro.com. Scroll down, click the link on our Facebook page. It's on the top banner. It says donate here. You can still donate money. That GoFundMe account is still open and going. We're a little bit short on funds, so we're going to keep that up a few days and hopefully get another couple $100 in there or so. So anything you can donate, if you haven't already, would be greatly appreciated. We fed, again, over 550 people yesterday. And that's it, folks. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it, and Happy New Year.